So Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is out, another third-party candidate that people were pumped up about. Dunzo, why do third parties keep struggling in the country? Let's find out. 93 WIBC, Kendall Casey Show. I'm Rob. Casey's here. And oh my goodness, look who it is. My all-time favorite libertarian, former executive director for the Libertarian Party in the state of Indiana, host of the Chris Spangle Show on the We Are Libertarians podcast network, and now a reality television star. Chris Spangle, hello.
Hey, thanks so much for having me, Rob.
So Kennedy gets in, and oh my gosh, it's Camelot all over again. He's polling at 15. He could electrify the nation. Now he's out. It happened again. Why do third parties struggle so much?
Republicans and Democrats? I mean, let's go ask Jim Wallace, John Rust, the Green Party in Wisconsin. It is a way for Republicans and Democrats to control elections. They spend a lot of money on these elections. They don't want a third party coming in here and disrupting what they have designed to be close races. In Indiana, for instance, where we have a super party majority in the Republican Party, they designed the state houses every 10 years to have 1 to 6 close races where they have to spend resources.
Redistricting, right?
Redistricting,
right.
Yes, right? Funny fact, your best buddy Todd Rokita, back when he was Secretary of State, had a great program called Rethinking Redistricting in conjunction with the Brennan Center. And he used artificial intelligence back in 2010 to redraw the districts.
Right.
And it ticked off these state house representatives so much that he couldn't run for Senate in 2012 like he had been planning.
What happened to Rokita? I used to really like Rokita, and he seemed like a pretty good guy.
I have a story to tell you off air what happened to Todd Rokita, but you're not going to believe it. The reality is it's resource protection for the two parties. It's ideologically shrinking the map so you have less choices. But if you really were to look at the American electorate, we have, a dozen different overarching philosophies of approaches towards government. You and I would consider ourselves libertarian. We'd consider ourselves conservative. But you'd probably listen to my podcast over at the Chris Spangle Show and go, what a liberal.
Yeah.
Right? But we have so much in common, yet we have so many differences.
And that's okay, though.
Of course, but you're an honest person who looks at Don Rainwater and says, I like him, I could see myself voting for him. I mean, I myself vote for all three parties and other independents in every race, and we should expand that map to allow more folks in. And Robert Kennedy, I have a lot of disagreements with him, but he had every right to be on the ballot. But the Democrats don't want that competition.
Chris Spangle, our guest, host of the Chris Spangle Show. We're talking about why third parties struggle in America. And I look at the state of Indiana, and I was very optimistic after Rainwater has this great 2020. And I thought, okay, maybe we'll see an expansion of people who are now voting Libertarian for the first time. And you take like a Jeff Moore, who's a great Secretary of State candidate. He gets 10% in our listing area, but then it's the rest of the state. It's still 2-3%. And it just was disappointing that the Libertarians weren't able to capitalize on that because I felt they were the best chance to hold the Republicans accountable.
They are in the state. When you have a candidate like Don Rainwater who gets second place in 33 counties, a third of the counties, you have all these commissions and boards across the state of Indiana that legally require two parties to be on there.
Right.
And they, when you have the second party in these third of the counties, it should be libertarians on those boards. And Mitch Daniels, when he was governor, actually got smart about this. Mark Rutherford is still the head of the Public Defenders Commission.
What a guy.
Because the Mitch Daniels administration realized, they're a viable political party we could put in these boards to hold them accountable. But the Republicans really don't want anyone from the right coming against them, right? When Rainwater got that percentage, what was the first thing that young representative from North Indiana did?
Tried to change the ballot access
Was it
laws.
Wesco?
Yeah, no, it was Ethan Manning.
Yes. Tried to change ballot access.
Yeah.
So every time the Libertarians get successful here, they try to change ballot access. They try to change it to keep the Green Party off or the Libertarians off. So you also have some structural advantages if you're a Republican or Democrat. When you vote in a primary, that is closed party business paid for by the taxpayers.
Right.
You get data. You can go to the Secretary of State's office as a party and pay $15,000 to get that data. And then you have access to everybody's primary voting history, so you can start targeting. Libertarians have to pay a ton of money to get that data.
Right.
Republicans get it for cheaper.
Chris Spangle, our guest. We're talking about third parties in America, why they struggle. Obviously, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the latest to find this out. So here's what I found that was interesting. And you and I talked about how you and I are the same in the sense we split our ticket.
Mm-hmm.
And I vote for Libertarians, I vote for Republicans, I leave most of my ballot blank. And for years and years and years, your Libertarian friends were like, yeah, you go. That's really great. And then I made what I felt was a nuanced choice, which was very well thought out, to endorse Braun, not because I thought...
Incorrectly, but you go on.
Right, but you thought it was... I mean, I put time into it.
I understand, yeah.
And I said, look, I think he's the best chance to get something done with property taxes. It gives us a voice at the table. We'll try this. The previous thing wasn't working. We'll see what happens. And then all you libertarian friends started treating me the way the Republicans did, so nobody really wants freedom of choice.
Why do you think I barely am in the Libertarian Party anymore? No, I think, remember the question I asked you? What was the question I asked you?
What was the question you asked me?
Were
You've
those
asked me so many over the
real
years.
Libertarians, or were those online libertarians?
Yeah, you're right. That's
right.
right. Yes.
You can never take... This is, I think, a mistake of our media environment, where we look at a certain strain of people and go, all libertarians are terrible because of this block on Twitter, right? I think you could apply that to anybody.
Am I allowed to mention your day job?
Of course.
Is that okay? You work for Bob and Tom.
Yeah, my boss used to work here, and so he said anytime I come on, you must promote my show there.
Yes. So you are, what are you, the digital director for Bob and Tom?
Yep.
You know, I've long said this, and you know this, for years when you and I were just two idiots in an apartment together. I said my dream was to meet Tom Griswold, and I'm still waiting on you to make that happen.
It's not going to happen.
It's never going to happen.
No,
we're number one. You could tell him. We're number one in the time slot.
I hope to meet him one day.
So I wanted to ask you about covering politics, because obviously Bob and Tom don't do a lot of politics, but you have, which is why they're so happy and rich.
We have avoided it like the plague.
But media in general, and I think we do well because people know we're not bullcrapping them.
Yeah.
We dislike Republicans. We dislike Democrats.
Now you dislike libertarians.
I don't dislike libertarians. I just feel like for a guy who did so much for them, I was treated very poorly.
Yeah.
Just a thanks would be sufficient.
I got stories.
But I do wonder, in the changing media landscape, I mean, we're basically done with any sense of objectivity from like 99% of media outlets. I mean, you're not getting. I mean, we admit, like, we're trying to mold your opinion. We're not bullcrapping you about that. But these places like CNN, MSNBC, even Fox News, they still present themselves as being reasonably fair, and most of them are just simply not.
I read a book recently called Pivot Points.
You're such a reader.
I am a big reader.
Like, you have just a voluminous library of books.
I do. I love books. I read all the time, and I just finished Pivot Points by Marvin Olasky, who's a Christian journalist. And he ran World Magazine, a great magazine for Christians, and it helps you articulate the news. And they designed it to do on-the-ground reporting. And then in the Trump era, the business side of it came in and said, we need to start doing opinion. Because opinion is what people want to read, and it's really cheap to do. It's hard to get a reporter out on the streets. It is a fundamentally good thing that over the last few years, we've seen things like Axios come into Indianapolis, Howie sold his thing to State Public Affairs, Indianapolis Capital Chronicle, the Daily Mirror, I think you could argue might even be helpful sometimes. But these are fundamentally good things to have more on-the-ground journalists, but they're starting to struggle. And the reason is it's very expensive to do reporting. It takes a lot of time. But as talk radio people, you and I depend on that journalism.
Yeah, totally.
And so as much as we decry like media bias, if you go listen to 99% of talk radio, conservative media, liberal media, whatever, it is all based on like the New York Times, the Washington Post, and they're the platform that so many people on alternative media stand on. So I am a big proponent of more journalism, and I don't think it needs to be fair. I think you need to have options. You cannot diminish options. You can't. That's why censorship on social media is such a problem. But I don't think you ever could expect it to be fair. I mean, media bias just exists, and the New York Times is always going to say, isn't it great that Kamala was born in Berkeley, and they don't mind that she says she's from Oakland. But if J.D. Vance were doing that and lying as much as Tim Walz lies, like you'd have here's how we broke the story articles. You'd have infographics. It'd be all over social media. It's just how it is, but that's why you exist, your balance.
Well, before I let you go, I just want to brag on both of us because we've come so far.
Yeah.
When Spangle and I first met, we were very poor. And
one of the first podcasts on the We Are Libertarians Network 10 years ago.
That's right. And now look at us. We both have young, attractive wives.
Very beautiful.
We have beautiful children.
Gorgeous children.
And we both have really cool jobs.
Very cool jobs.
And one of your cool jobs now, in addition to being part of Bob and Tom, is you're a reality TV star.
Big time, yeah.
Tell us.
I will give you an autograph. I am on BET. That's right, WIBC.
You're the whitest guy I know.
I almost didn't make it onto BET. I'm so white. But I've done the Pat Down podcast with Miss Pat for
She's a comedian.
over 5 years. Huge comedian, has really grown in popularity over the last 5 years. And I got a call 2 years ago to audition for Miss Pat Settles It, where she plays a Judge Judy type. These are real cases between two people. They're all insane cases. It's on BET.
So these are real people. I always wondered this on the show. These are real people.
Real people.
This is not Springer where they're like paid actors.
No, real cases, real people. And every Wednesday night at 10 p.m., you can see me sitting next to Ray J.
Yeah. You're the jury.
I'm in the jury. I'm in the celebrity jury.
Yeah.
Rob.
So what do you do on the show? Tell everybody what you do.
Sit there and crack jokes. I mean, it's no different than what you do.
And that's unscripted? You just whatever's
whatever comes to your head.
That's amazing.
Yeah, all that's improv.
Look at you.
Yeah.
And if people would like to find your Chris Spangle Show podcast, how do they do that?
Go to chris-spangle.com and you can find all the links to all my different stuff.
Oh, my goodness, all the fame and good looks in this room. I wasn't sure we were going to make it through it, but we did.
Hey, our hairlines are holding up. What can we say?
Yours is natural, as I understand. Mine with a little help from We Grow Hair Indy.
Oh, well, you look good.
Thank you.
Look. We look better than a lot of our Facebook friends.
We were talking about that, how we've hit 40, and you got two options here. You either got the people who are like, what a well-preserved human that is, or this person looks like they're about to go to a nursing home.
I get, you didn't look 40, but then if you look at some of my Facebook friends, you're like, who's that old lady?
It is the Kendall Casey Show, 93 WIBC.